Kevin from Trees and Trends, and here I want to show you this Thanksgiving theme that I've put together for you that I'm calling Thankful Sentiment. Mostly when we think of Thanksgiving, we think of all of the brighter colors of fall, the reds, the yellows, the oranges. But here I've chosen to do an alternate form using the more neutral tones that go along with the ever-increasing feel of the neutral color schemes in our homes. Just to give you an alternate view, because Thanksgiving, really what it's about is the attitude of being thankful for what we have. Now, in character of the fall theme, I'm still using lots of dried materials. You have the dry look sunflower heads. We've got the flowering cabbage and kale used throughout that you see planted in fall throughout landscapes, artichokes, pears, cattails, as well as pheasant feathers, which are always great to use within arrangements and settings for the fall. And then, of course, dried looking Queen Anne's lace and other weeds and berries that you might see, all just layering those neutral tones. Now, here in the table setting itself, you see I've used a cleaner lined table and chairs. This whole setting could work for modern as well as for very traditional, just depending on a few little tweaks here and there. Now, to keep things warm and casual, I'm using heavily textured placemats. There is a plate here which is sort of inspired by lace doilies, but yet it's in a nice clean lined taupe. Then I'm using a different dessert plate or salad plate from another set, giving me more colonial lines, but still keeping things very clean. And then the napkin fold, which is called the water lily, just nestles that pear in just for a little additional punch and to carry my theme throughout. As always, I'm a proponent of using two napkins, one to lay across my lap to protect my clothing and one to actually use on my hands or mouth as I'm eating. So you see I've pulled my color across to the backs of the chairs using the patterned napkins while using the solid on my place setting itself. Now, going into the arrangements, the candle holders themselves are inexpensive glass cylinders, which I've filled with dried pinto beans, again, a symbol of harvest. Put my flameless candles on top. Now, my base here is an upside down wood and metal planter box that I've just flipped upside down because I liked the angles and I like the texture of the sides. I've created a wreath or ring from dried honeysuckle vine, just worked tightly around this so that you can easily slide it up and down to get access for your candle or anything else you want, or even completely slide it off so you can use your cylinder throughout the season. And then again, I've added the featured items to create a candle ring, as well as my birch branches, which I've tied over the top to create this whole dramatic setting. So it flows really well with my centerpiece. After Christmas even, with this scheme, you could pull these back out and use them as winter arrangements because all of these items are preserved and have that both fall and winter feel. Now, carrying throughout the rest of the room, you always hear us talk about layering within design. Here I've done some very specific layering in the overall room, which makes it easy for you to see how it works. We start off with our wood floor, then I've laid down the seagrass rugs, which I love to give texture to any room, and they're so inexpensive and easy to add that texture. And then I've laid my rug over the seagrass. In this way, the seagrass works as a rug mat, so it helps keep your better rug preserved longer, gives you additional comfort and just that additional layer of texture that's used so prevalently today. Behind the fireplace mantle, you see another instance of layering where I've used the mirror and then the sentiment sayings piece of artwork, and then layered over that with the antique looking clock. So those are very specific and definite layering techniques that are used to give you depth. Used more subtly in your entire room, you get that same interest going with the room itself. Now, with the tree, of course, I've used our new fresh cut looking tree. This is one of the most realistic trees that I've seen on the market, with the vinyl tips to it and excellent coloring. And of course, you can always set up a tree. There are many that like to do a tree all year round and change out for the holidays. But this is a way you can get a jump on Christmas. Go ahead and set up the tree, for instance, in your dining room, decorate it for Thanksgiving, and then you can easily switch out to Christmas. Again, I've used the bundles of wheat. I've used pumpkins in a neutral tone, the flowering cabbages again, bird's nest, each holding a pear and some deer moss, just to give that depth. But then we have our sentiment signs. These you would normally see sitting on ledges or hanging on your walls, maybe in the backs of bookcases, anything like that. Pull those out. Use them in your tree just to switch around your accessories some. Gives you a whole new look. So we can continue on there. Of course, the mantelpiece, in addition to the layers we talked about, I've just used birch branches in the vases. It's nothing but 3 bundles of those there. And then I've used the starlights, which we have available in our stores and online, that are also available for you to use there, and it just gives you that sparkle. They're on the timer or have the separate on and off switch, so you can keep them on all the time or just have them come on every night at the same time. The garland itself is not full like you think of a garland. And here, of course, I've used the 3 different ribbons to add in and carry the color across. But if you're using this, for instance, on a more modern mantle, you might leave the ribbon off altogether and just leave the sculptural quality of the vine itself along with the individual botanical items that are attached to it. Gives you a cleaner look, a little more sparse look if you're into the more minimal event, and just let that sculptural quality show. Over here, another sense of layering. We have the metal art piece hung, and then I've hung the wreath over the top of it. In this sense, it literally frames out my wreath, and you can see I've got lots of depth going on here because I've let the grapevine emerge out and form sort of a basket itself to nestle the items in and around. And then layer up with a few serving pieces. The contemporary lamp on the more traditional rustic buffet just gives you lots of textural differences, mixes your themes, gives you a very warm look, but still overall with the neutral tones keeping everything light and comfortable. Finish it off with your chandelier made from antique wine barrels, and you've got a completed room look for your home. You can get all of these things at Trees and Trends. Mix, match, have fun, switch some of your old accessories around and mix with the new as well so you can make your home unique.